conflict.
Okay, I'm starting the streaming now. Yes, that's hilarious. I love that. Okay. Alrighty. So, for those of you joining us, yes, it looks like we are up and running. Welcome. And for those of you who are joining us, we're so glad you're here. And for some reason, I am not seeing the chat function come up. So just give me 1 second. Features. Amber, do you see it on your end, the chat function?
You know what? I'm trying to bring up the streaming in general. Let's see. I've got it. It's coming. And, no. Oh, yes.
You do see it?
Yes. Hold on. Technical difficulties.
Yes.
I do see the chat.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Good. Oh, I see. Yes. Okay. Now I've got it. Sorry, it moved itself. YouTube has been changing things and moving things around, so I'm a little bit like, where is stuff?
It is in a weird spot. It looks different.
It changed, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
Or maybe we just haven't done this in so long.
That could be.
We don't remember.
That could be. Yeah, because it's been a couple months. It
has been a couple months.
Back on the bandwagon.
So exciting to be back on here.
Yes.
We've just been jet setting and handling business all over the place the last couple months.
Yeah, tell me about that a little bit, just as we're getting going here.
Yeah, so gosh, we haven't done this since February?
Yes, correct.
Okay. I just saw this meme that said it was two people sitting there talking, and the one person said, I can't believe how fast March went by, and the other person says, it's May.
I know.
That's how it feels.
That sounds right.
Well, since we chatted last, I've been working on my own podcast, which launches tomorrow.
Ooh.
A Holistic Healing Connection.
Mm-hmm.
And then I went to California and toured all over Southern California and met all kinds of great body workers and holistic practitioners, and got to experience Southern California, which was a first for me. So life is grand.
Very cool.
Very busy.
Yeah.
What about you, Isabel? What have you been up to?
What have I been up to? I have been... I went on vacation. I went on a full 2-week vacation. Yes. Which is always pretty amazing. Mm-hmm. And I was actually able to completely unplug. We did a bunch of camping and backpacking, and it was so good. So, yes, nice. Glad to be back. Yes, me too. Excellent.
All right.
So, should we get going? It looks like everything is kind of set. So, should we get going with the official part of recording our podcast episode?
Yes.
All right. All right. Welcome, everybody, to our podcast recording. I am here with Amber Cook of healingwaze.com, WAZE. And Amber, tell us what we're talking about this morning.
Putting me on the spot, right?
Yes.
I think we're going to chat about being a massage therapist, doing the work that we love, but then also the business side. And maybe we don't love it as much as we love doing the work. And sometimes you think, I'm just going to get out there and start a practice because I love doing it. I love working on my family and friends, and yeah, this is great. And I can be a business owner too. And most of us find out we don't really love that piece of it. But it doesn't mean we have to always not, dislike it. I think some of us can grow to enjoy it. I know I have. I think Isabel has.
Yes.
So we're chatting about, the duality of running a massage or body work practice. It's more than just doing the work that you love.
Yes. That's a powerful statement. It is about more than just doing the work that you love. Mm-hmm. And I think this goes for every practitioner, right? This is not, and probably every profession and everybody who is gainfully and self-employed. We are all finding our way with the parts of our businesses that are more difficult or that aren't as fulfilling or don't feel as fulfilling in the short term. Because what I have come to understand over 12 years of being in private practice and working for myself and having that be my full-time income is that I don't enjoy the things that have a steep learning curve in the beginning. Mm-hmm. So for me, that was around marketing in terms of really getting myself out into the community and making the connections that needed to be made in order to really stabilize my practice and get those referral sources going. That was really difficult for me. Mm-hmm. And then the whole money management piece of it was really difficult for me as well. And in the beginning, I did not like doing those things because I didn't understand them, or I didn't understand how to do them, or I didn't really understand the point of them, or I didn't have enough instruction in how to do those things effectively. There were so many gaps in my understanding and in my knowledge, and that's not fun. Having gaps is not fun, and that can make it seem like you don't like running your business. But really, what I have found is that the better I get at those things, the more skills that I build, I actually really love getting out into my community in specific ways. Like I've talked about it pretty frequently. I'm a pretty hardcore introvert. Like being with other people kind of drains me. I enjoy it, but it drains me. And so I'm pretty selective about how I do that these days. But I do love it when I'm out there, you know?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. And then on the money management side of the things, it took me a long time, several tax cycles, to figure out how to make all of that work and not just be totally tearing my hair out at tax time. And I know I'm not alone in going through that learning curve, but actually I kind of love doing my books now. And, you know, for me, a lot of that had to do with hiring a bookkeeper finally, and to set up my QuickBooks to make it easier for me to run my books and do projections and track and feel like when tax time came around that I wasn't swamped. Like I wasn't just like, or whatever that sounds like. But as I've built that,
it involves a lot of cuss words.
yes, frequently. But as you build those skills, I think, you know, if you can give yourself time with the frustration and time with the floundering and just kind of be patient with the frustration of this stuff, growing into your business side of things can be so enlivening.
Yeah. You know, and you said it again. I think if anyone listening right now has listened to our previous conversations, we both talk about, you know, give it time, give it patience, persistence. It's no different than all these tasks of the business side of your practice. Mm-hmm. I think most of us, anyone I've ever met, doesn't go in like, well, that's not true. I meet some people that are from like a business background and they get into doing some kind of healing work. That's different. They have some great skills that they bring with them, and I'm just like, I'm a little jealous because I did not. I mean, I had lots of great customer service background and accounting and those kind of things, but working for other people, it's a whole different story when you're doing it for yourself.
It is.
Yeah.
And
most of us love it.
Yeah, most of us don't love it. And the hard thing is that when you come in from being successful in a different career, you know, I've seen students who were high-level executives at their previous jobs, and this is sort of what they want to do into their retirement years, and I think that's beautiful. But they're used to being really up there in their organizations. They retired as like full-fledged executive, like high-level management, and running their own business because they're working for themselves and not for somebody else. It seems like they go into it like, yeah, I've got this, like so many of us go into it, and even then it's just a different skill set. It's a different skill set. So
I mean, you and I know that personally because you and I are doing it kind of backwards. We're doing it the other way.
Right.
We started out in our bodywork and massage careers, did that, and then we went on to start our two businesses now that are on top of those. That we're still working alongside our bodywork practices.
Right.
But, I know you and I have chatted, and with Healing Ways and with your business, it's different. And I went in kind of cocky like that as well.
Yeah.
Like, I've been running a business for over 14 years. I know what to do. It's totally different.
It is.
Every business is different.
It is. Every business is a little bit different skill set. And even among my students in the Own Your Practice program, like, they'll push back on me. Like, I'll say something about tipping or about, office space or whatever it is that they have questions about that we're working on. And they'll say, like, well, I know that's how you recommend doing it, Isabel, but what if I don't want to? And it's like, yes, do you need to make it work for your practice for you? And so much of that is because each of us, so we came into this particular conversation, Amber and I, talking about, like, most of us either go into massage school or come out of massage school or any other healing practitioner type schooling, acupuncture, naturopathic, chiropractic. We go in and or come out, or both, loving the work itself. Loving working with our clients, loving helping people feel better, essentially, in their lives, loving providing a service that is really meaningful in our clients' lives. I've had recently a couple people reach out and say, well, I love giving massages to my family and friends. Should I go to massage school? Because I want to own my own business, right? And my answer usually is along the lines of, well, if you love it, then, definitely check it out. But I also think that if you are thinking about this in terms of wanting to own your own practice or not, you want to work for somebody else, you need to go find people who are currently doing that. They have their license or their certification. They are doing whatever it is that you think you want to be doing. So if it's running your own practice, you find practice owners. If it's working for somebody else, you find people who are working in a clinic or a spa or whatever it is. And you ask them serious questions, not just like, hey, do you think I should do this? That's not the question. The question is not, do you think I should do this? The question is, how is it going for you? What is it really like? Is it working for you? What would you do differently? Because these are the things that, and then listen, because so many of us think like, oh, you're struggling, but I won't struggle with that. Okay, next question, but you really have to kind of like listen and take it in, because it is a different thing loving to give massage in general and doing it as your profession. Those are two separate things, really, I think. How do you think of that, Amber?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Definitely. I mean, the reality is that your love for what you're doing, your love for your healing work, is not all that it takes to make it into a business practice. Unfortunately, it would be great if all we had to do is just hold up our hands and be like, come to me, I have this amazing way to help you. And they just drop in our hands. That would be awesome, but it almost never.
Right.
I'm sure some people can say that it has worked that way for them. And if that has worked for you that way and you're listening to this, please message Isabel and let her know. Because you interviewed, for one. Yeah. And for two, because it's not very common for that to happen that way. But I just want to pause here for a second.
Yes.
You were saying some people were asking you questions via email. Whoever's listening right now, if you have questions for us, please drop them in the chat. And it's a little delayed, so it might take us a minute to see, but drop some questions in there. And that'll kind of help us keep the conversation going too. And if you have questions around like exactly what we just talked about, we can answer them right now, live. It's pretty awesome.
Thank you so much for bringing that up. Yes, because I can see that there are people watching us. Yay!
We have 7 people.
Kendra, hello. Welcome. Glad you're here. It fluctuates. It comes in and out, the number of people watching, always. But we are glad that you're here. And this is not just about Amber and I just sort of like talking into the void. We really want to interact. we do like having.
We could talk to each other all day long, but it's fun to bring people in with real questions right now. Whatever's on your mind, we're here to help.
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely. So,
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, one of the things that we were talking about right before we jumped on, just as we're kind of waiting for these questions. And Kendra wants a recap of a topic. Excellent. Yes. We are talking about the difference, or the potential difference, or the potential tension between loving the work that you're doing. So whether you're a body worker or an acupuncturist or naturopath, or it doesn't even matter.
To be a baker.
Yes, exactly. Thank you. I was trying to come up with something really, really different. A dog walker. It really doesn't matter. Loving that work, the kind of specific work of whatever it takes to do that job, and how that can sometimes be at odds or feel really different than the work of running your business, and how we grow into different aspects of these. Loving the work and running a business are two different things. Often. And over time, I have found that they meld, they mesh, they become more part of the same thing.
Yes.
Which is actually kind of what I was going to wrap us back around to here, is that right before we jumped on, Amber, you and I were talking about working with other providers. So we've both worked with PR firms at different points in our businesses. We've both, had to hire different people for different services for our businesses over time, whether that's web work or payment processing, all sorts of different things. There's plenty of different companies out there. And this thing that applies to us as well as practitioners, but also that is a learning curve in learning to run a business, is how to figure out the difference between having good intentions and actually what it's the work on the ground. So this can be like, can somebody actually fulfill what they say that they're doing? Like if you're hiring somebody. And then in our own practices, it can be as simple as, I just had a student go through this not too long ago. And I'm going through it in a very small way right now, which is just the mechanics. So this student, she has been working in a clinic for a number of years. She's very good at the hands-on work, at kind of getting through all of her clients in a day. She does a lot of back-to-back clients. She's just really good at the work itself. And now that she's in her own practice, there's this huge learning curve of all of a sudden, she's the scheduler, she's the payment collector, she's the rescheduler, she's the person talking to the client about their options for further sessions in the future. It's not handled by a front desk person or a different practitioner anymore. It's all her, right? And the first session that she had a sort of a paying client, she was really disoriented because of all of these extra things that have to happen in that client interaction. And she got nervous around the business side stuff of it, of swiping the card and having the internet not work perfectly during that time. And going through the rescheduling and remembering all of these things that she's never had to remember in session before, right? So we have this intention of providing the highest possible service to our clients. And when that suddenly includes the highest service through the payment process and through the rescheduling process and through the follow-up process and through all of these other processes that you've maybe never dealt with before, that can seem really overwhelming, and it can pull attention, it can pull feeling from the work, the hands-on work that happens on the table itself. And it can make it seem like you don't even remember what happened on the table with the client because you're so consumed with what happened when they got off the table and handed you their credit card, right?
Yeah.
And that can feel really disorienting for practitioners in the beginning of running a business. And that's not a bad thing. It's like I was talking about before. These are skills that we develop. And I think that the way we teach ourselves, the way that we learn, the way that we build those skills, accepting payment from a client actually now to me feels like part of the entire experience of them being here. It feels I try to make that part of it feel just as nurturing and just as clear and just as straightforward and just as engaged as every other part of the session, including the hands-on part of the session. So it's a totally different aspect of the session, but it still is part of the whole.
Well, those are great examples because when I started out, I had two things that were big challenges for me. Like Isabel said earlier, I also am an introvert, and the networking piece, which is so huge and important. And when I say networking, it doesn't mean you have to go to a 7 a.m. meeting, get a name tag on, and do an elevator pitch. Right. Networking can be just going to the other practitioner's office down the street and introducing yourself. When you're at social events, just hand out your business card. Just say what you do. And I was also extremely shy. Mm-hmm. So I was introverted and extremely shy. And that was just a huge, huge challenge for me to work through, was just getting over that piece. And it took a couple years, at least, if not more, to get comfortable with that. And I just had to because that's a business piece, right? That's marketing. So that's a form of marketing. So that piece took me years to finally just go, now it's no big deal. I have no issues with it. I'm so comfortable with it. The other one, it kind of ties into your story, was organization of my time, and just organization in general. And actually, I still kind of struggle with the organization of just my office and everything else, but my time, I've got that down pretty good. It's dialed in. But I can totally relate to your student when she was saying, like, all the things to have to remember. I remember in the beginning that was definitely stressful, and I didn't love it. I didn't like having to constantly keep a schedule. I had I'd gone from working for other people telling me what my schedule was, to like being completely in control of my schedule and doing the follow-up and the payments and handling conflict even. Mm-hmm. It's all on you. I mean, there's so many pieces that all of a sudden you have this thing that you love doing. Excuse me. This thing that you love doing. And then you've got like all these other pieces just dumped in your lap on top of that. And honestly, you don't really know what it's going to feel like or look like until you're in it. Right. Is the other part, right?
Exactly. Exactly. Because going back to that student story, she was prepped. She was ready. Like, she had her ducks in a row. She's a very like methodical person. Mm-hmm. And still she was like, whoa. And it's just practice, right?
Yes. Practice. Yeah. I remember in massage school, one of my instructors said, and I've just carried this with me through the actual practice of the modality and my practice as a business. She said, there is a reason why it's called a practice.
Yes.
And it for a reason. That's why. And we continue to practice and grow, and you just have to keep going.
Yes.
And you're going to make mistakes. Don't take yourself too seriously. And you're going to get embarrassed. And just all those things are going to happen. But that means you're stepping out of your comfort zone, and you're learning hopefully you're learning every time. Right.
Exactly. Or if not every time, at least, every other time. Over time. The trajectory is that you're learning.
The 100th time you finally learn, that's okay.
Right, exactly. And I just want to jump in here. Kendra said, yes, knowing yourself and accepting it is absolutely okay. To run your business in a way that is best for you with no apologies is a great start, a solid foundation to staying confident, to handle the new experiences that will come along. And I just, that the part of what you said, Kendra, about the way that's best for you, when I have students come into my programs, my one program, they often are very certain about what is best for them, what works best for them, the way that they want to do it. And I think we have to learn to be flexible with what we think is the way that we want to run our business. And this is personal experience. This is also working with students over time. Is that if we come in thinking too much that we know what's best, it actually stops us from that growing process sometimes. And I don't think this is what you were trying to say, Kendra. It just kind of brought it up in my mind. But we need to be careful about what we think is the best, the quote unquote best way for us to run our businesses, because we have to be able to try different things over time. If we can't be flexible with the needs of our clients and flexible with the needs of our business over time, then it can get really frustrating. And by needs of our clients, I mean, you know, I still occasionally have somebody contact me who says, I don't ever want to accept credit cards. I just won't do it. Mm-hmm. And that's fine. That's a choice that you can make that maybe as a practitioner or business owner is in your own best interest. But you also have to take care of the business side of it and the client side of it. Have you really thought about, you know, this is just an example, but have you really thought about how that feels to the client? Does it add friction to them coming to see you if they have to remember their checkbook or stop and get cash every time before their session? Because the reality of our culture at this point is that most of us don't carry that amount of cash or carry checkbooks at all anymore. So not to say that you can't run a just cash or check based business. You can. But again, like if that feels right to you, it's fine if you decide that, but really examine what's going into that and why, and how it impacts not just the short term, but the long term of your business, how that impacts not just you, but how that impacts your clients. What does that say to your clients about your client relationship with them? How do they receive that? Maybe they love it. Maybe they don't want to ever use a credit card for anything either. Then you know you're serving your niche, and that's great. But this idea of like staying flexible and making sure that you're not making that you're not being too stubborn. Stubborn is good. I'm not against stubborn. Yeah. But we have to find those places to flex. And this is part of the thing that I think drives people crazy about running a business, is that we're often challenged in this way. Like, I know how I want to run my business and I'm going to do it. And this was absolutely me in the first 5 years of my practice. I was going to do it my way. Absolutely. And over time, that has to break down. It just has to. Or it had to for me to get to the 12th year of my full-time private practice that I'm totally happy with, right? And I'm happier now that I've gotten more flexible than when I was super entrenched in the way that I knew it had to be.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, for me, I was set on the way that I was going to market, and that was going to be the way that I got my clients, and I wouldn't have to do anything else except hand out flyers and send out postcards.
Yes.
And that's all I was going to do. Quickly learned that was not enough. And there was so much more. Yeah, definitely. The flexibility. You know, I even tell people I enjoy doing puzzles. And I enjoy, and just puzzle, not necessarily like a jigsaw puzzle, but just figuring out puzzles.
We have that in common.
Yes. And I think that's one of the things that helps us be so successful in our practices. So on that note, if you're someone who doesn't enjoy doing puzzles, just figuring stuff out, well, I'll just go out and say it. Like, it may not be running your own practice may not be one of the best things for you. It may not be the right direction, honestly. I mean, in my opinion, I don't think you can learn it, I guess, but like to have that drive behind you to want to just figure things out, for most of us is super important to being an entrepreneur. That's a huge piece of it, because you have to be flexible. Things change all the time. I mean, it's just a given. You have to be flexible to have any kind of business where you're the solopreneur. I mean, you should be flexible in life, actually. You work for other people, right? Like, but it's extremely important. And so, you know, I started just treating all these things as like a puzzle that I could solve. For me, that kind of helped to be like, okay, well, that didn't work. Let's do this, or let's do this combination of this and combination of this. And constantly just reaching out, experimenting to try to figure out the puzzle on how to have a full practice. So yeah, I think that's extremely important. Flexibility, curiosity, the desire to try to figure things out. I don't know. Do you think some of those things, do you think it can be learned to be someone who likes to solve puzzles?
Yes, because I think that almost anything can be learned.
Okay.
And yet, I do think that certain personalities and certain learning styles lend themselves to being an entrepreneur more than others.
Yes.
So, while I wouldn't say that it's like an exclusive thing, like if you don't like solving puzzles, don't own a business.
Yeah.
I do think that there are aspects of that are just going to make it so much more comfortable, so much. I mean, we're talking about all of the discomfort of running a business.
Yeah.
And Kendra, I just want to say, I do see your question. And she was kind of laughing and yes, and saying how flexibility is important. And Kendra says, I used to think that what was best, and it changes often. So best in the current period of practice in life. Yeah. And then I see your question, Kendra. We'll get to that, but
the good one.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I mean, I do agree that but at the same, so yes, I think there are some personality aspects that definitely lend themselves more to running a business and sticking with it for the long term, right? Not just like starting your business and then giving up when it doesn't work right away.
Yeah.
And we're talking as if the only thing needed is a puzzle solving ability, or as if the only thing needed is patience, and it's not true. I mean, you need to have some financial ability to sustain yourself during the learning process, right? You need the ability, you need infrastructure, you need a place to have an office. Does the area where you live even have suitable places for your office, or do you have to like figure that piece out, right? So I don't want to make this too simplistic, because so often I hear like it's almost become like a bad phrase, quote unquote bad phrase in my mind, like if you can dream it, you can do it. It's just like, well, yeah, but at what cost? And realistically, like I can dream of being an astronaut, and I have my entire life, but I suck at math. So like the possibility of me now at 39 becoming an astronaut, like as much as I want that and can dream it, like it's just not going to happen. And I'm kind of okay with that, right? So,
that's a great example. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, and I, like that's a big example, but it's also like these things can happen in our practices. Like, of course I've toyed off and on in my years in practice with whether or not I want to hire another therapist to work under me, and train that person up and be totally confident sending my clients to them. And I have over time just really struggled with this, because it's not in my personality to even want to manage somebody else in my business. I just don't want it. So I can see all the benefits of it. But again, I'm super introverted. I have things that I'm passionate about, and none of the things that I'm passionate about lend themselves to managing other people. That's just the reality of it for me. So could I do it? Yes, absolutely. I've hired assistants before. I've hired, and it's gone well in different contexts. But the reality is that time and time again, I just don't want to be a personnel manager. And as much as I know I could learn the skill, I just don't want to. So there are all of these little things that play into it, right? And so then if I'm not going to do that, how am I going to grow into the other parts of my business that I'm interested in, or that I do want to pursue? All of these different things. I think you kind of have to take some level of personality and just innate wanting to do that, or really not wanting to do that. And I've tried to give it good consideration. I've tried to really learn about it. I've learned a lot about how to bring somebody in, how to manage them, how to run your practice like that. I know I could functionally make it happen at this point, because I've learned so much about it. And still, I just don't want to. So I think that's one thing that we all have to like kind of work with in ourselves.
Well, and seeing you experimented, right? You tried it out and you decided you didn't want to do it. And you could definitely, like you said, you could do it if you wanted to do it. You same with insurance for me. For many years, I dabbled in taking insurance, and then I like halfway through my career, I was like, nope, I'm done. Like,
yeah.
I hated it. It took up way too much of my time. Like it didn't bring me any joy. And instead, I just raised my rates.
Right.
You know, I was just like, I'll just raise my rates. And, you know, because everybody's like, oh, you make so much money if you take insurance. But it's not, I mean, you're making more money because it takes a lot more time. Or, you know,
yeah,
I'm with you. I actually do enjoy. I've hired people to work under me in my massage practice, and like through maternity leave and just different things. And I do enjoy that, but I just decided, yeah, it was kind of too much extra work. That how much do I enjoy it? I guess I had to just
right.
Say, you know? And again, it comes from the experimenting, the experimenting, the being flexible, the trying new things.
And then when they don't work, when things don't work, like, and so Kendra, this is, I think,
followed it up.
Yeah, because I do think so Kendra's question. Oh, I'm sorry, Amber. I don't want to interrupt. Did you want to finish?
No, I'm done. Let's answer her question. It's an awesome one.
Yeah. So Kendra asked, what's one decision you've made along your journey that best improved your businesses? And, you know, if it could be called a decision, and it was, I don't remember the exact moment, but I do remember making the shift from it was like a mindset decision. I would say, okay, so I think there's two separate things here. For me, there's a mindset decision that happened. It was like the best that improved my business. And then there have been a couple of nuts and bolts things that really improved my business. So
what's one mindset decision?
One mindset decision was that I was going to take more advice. I was going to seek more advice, take more advice, and actually learn to be more flexible. Because when the rubber hit the road and I still did not have enough clients to pay my bills, I just realized, like, okay, the time for ego on this level is done. Like, I have to decide to do this differently, otherwise I'm not going to make it. Yes. And I started listening to other practitioners, what they were doing, what they were recommending I did, and then I just got my butt out there and did it. But that was a game changer for me.
What about nuts and bolts? What's one nuts and bolts?
Accepting credit cards.
What was it?
Accepting credit cards.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So, and I've gone through various iterations of this over time, but I started with PayPal before Square existed, if anybody can remember Into the Depths of Time. And I started with Square.
The kind where you had to do this with it. You know, you put the credit card in and...
Yeah, the swiper.
That kind.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Before any of the... Yeah, with the old contract companies. That's right. They still exist, of course. But yeah, I didn't struggle with that decision at all. And that was, you pay a lot in fees, but also it makes everything so much easier.
It really does.
So, anyway.
For me, it opened up my practice like crazy as well.
Yeah.
It really did.
So Amber, what's something that you've...
Similar and different. So mindset, I came out of the gate thinking I was pretty confident. I had also taken, I had also become a Reiki master like a couple months after I got my massage license and had my office. So I was really into the positive mindset and if you dream it, you can, all that stuff. And I still believe in a lot of that stuff, but I also believe in the nuts and bolts. So the mindset shift for me was really, because I was a single parent at the time and I was really stressed about money at first. And I was just like, I have to make money at any cost. Doesn't matter if, and it was just dripping out of me, that desperation. And I had to really sit back and get some mentors, talk to practitioners that have been doing it for a long time and just get over myself. And just go, it's going to take some time and I'm going to relax. So for me, it was relaxing, getting over myself, getting over, then also the second thing I guess would be getting over the shyness and the being too scared to do things. I had to go, does my fear outweigh my passion for my purpose? No. Like, my purpose is so strong. I'm here to help other people in this way. And this fear is so much smaller than my purpose. So I just do a lot of, I blush very easy still to this day. There was just a lot of red-faced card handings, and just talking more and more about my business. And so that leads into, I just had to get out and start meeting people. That if I want to say like one big thing, meeting people, getting referral partnerships, that was huge. And again, going back to the flexibility, not being so focused on my way, what I believed was supposed to be the way that it was to be done.
Right.
Accepting the advice, which I like to call now from the elders, because I'm starting to head into the elder phase.
Category.
I'm a grandma, so I can definitely...
That's true, you are.
Definitely classifying myself as an elder, and I've been doing this now for almost 16 years. So, I just had to go accept that, like, get over the ego and the pride of being the newbie, and just go, okay, give me all you've got, and help me out here. So, yeah.
Very
I know it's a big one, Kendra.
That was a great question.
Let's see.
Yeah.
What's the next question she's got for us?
Well, something that I want to bring out. We have about 5 minutes left, and she said, Isabel, I've watched many of your videos and follow you on Facebook. Cool. And she says, Amber, do you have a YouTube page or a Facebook page? Do share.
I have a website.
Yes, you do.
Yes, I have all the above. My company is healingways.com. It's a company that I founded. It's a holistic health directory, also an online and in person, depending on where you're at, community for practitioners of all modalities to connect, get support. So that's healingways.com. I do have a YouTube channel. It's been a while since I've posted on there. If you go to Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all those, Healing Ways. I'm all over the place.
Healing Ways, WAZE.
Thank you. I need to get better at that. And I'm launching my podcast that is not necessarily geared towards practitioners.
Oh.
But it's geared towards just educating the public on all the different holistic remedies and methods out there. And that's the Healing Connection, Holistic Healing Connection. It launches tomorrow, hopefully. So
congratulations!
Thanks! I'm pretty excited. So Isabel and I we have become friends because of Healing Ways. I love this woman. I think that she is just awesome at what she does. A lot of our members also love Isabel and the things she does to help them with their business. So thanks for asking, Kendra.
Yeah, that's awesome. And thanks for chatting with us. It was so great.
Yes.
So great.
All right.
So, as we're wrapping this up, we are sort of back on track for our monthly podcast episode recording together. So, of course, my podcast has more than just this particular one, but I love doing these with Amber. And so our next episode together will be on the first Friday of June. We'll be recording 10 a.m. We live stream as we record the podcast. We love having you here. We love having your interactions. So thank you so much for those of you who showed up live. And even though I know a bunch of you just sort of like hung out and watched, that's totally cool too. We don't mind if you don't interact, but let us know what you're curious about. Let us know what we should be talking about, because, we've both been doing a lot of this for a very long time now. Mm-hmm. We're both still actively engaged in our practices, which I think really we can't make too much of that, or we can't make enough of that, because so many of the people mentoring other people aren't about their practices, aren't actually actively practicing anymore. And that bugs me. I think it's important to my students that I am still engaging in the same things that I am encouraging them to engage in, right? That I still am doing the same outreach that I ask them to do. So after this, I have a client, and then I have a new midwife coming to see my space, and we're going to have tea and chat. And so all of the things that I encourage you to do to build your practice or to stabilize your practice or whatever it might be, I'm still actively engaged in that. And I do think that matters. And I know that Amber is still actively engaged as a practitioner, even as she's running Healing Ways. She's a very busy woman. But I think it matters, because being a practitioner is not an armchair thing. Being a practitioner, you have to be engaged if you really want it to work. So I wanted to throw that out there. It's always on my mind. And
oh my gosh, you were reading my mind, because this is a huge topic that I've been just kind of noodling on myself. I'm like, what is up with all these coaches and mentors that have never actually done it?
Right.
But maybe that should be our next show's topic.
We could, yeah. Yes, definitely.
Kendra, you're awesome. We will follow up with your questions after we end here.
Yeah.
I will put the info in there for you.
Cool. All
awesome.
right.
Thank you, Isabel.
Well, to everybody who is here with us live, yes, and to everybody who is listening to this as a podcast episode, we welcome your feedback. We hope to see you on our next live recording. And if you can't be there live, feel free to contact Amber or I and shout out your questions. Let us know what you want to hear about. We are here for you. Okay.
Bye-bye.
See you later.